Brajanath inquired further, do you recall any pastimes that he performed? Grandmother replied, I certainly do, my son. When Sri Gauranga would visit the house of his maternal uncle with Mother Sachi, the elderly ladies of our house fed him shak, spinach, and rice. He would praise the shak very highly and eat it with great prem. So it is well known that he was very fond of spinach. At that precise moment, Brajanath's own mother placed some shak on his plate. Seeing it and appreciating the serendipity of the moment, Brajanath became overjoyed. This is the beloved shak of the logician, Nimai Pandit, he said, and ate it with the utmost reverence. So the devotees of the Lord Mahaprabhu, so by hearing this pastimes of the Lord, and then in their daily life they can also remember the Lord. So also Mahaprabhu was very fond of bananas, that is well known. So whenever we see bananas, we are remembering Mahaprabhu. So whenever somebody is making spinach, we are overjoyed. Although Brajanath was completely lacking in transcendental knowledge of absolute reality, he became extremely attracted to Nimai Pandit's brilliant scholarship. So he had knowledge of the scriptures, specifically as explained here, Nyai. So that means logic here. So although he was very intelligent and learned in the scriptures, but he didn't have transcendental knowledge in regards to the absolute truth, Krishna, about pure devotional service. Indeed, the intensity of his attraction could not be estimated. Even the name of Nimai was a delight to his ears. When mendicants come to beg alms, uttering Jai Satyanandana, he received them warmly and fed them. He would sometimes go to Mayapur where he would hear the Babajis chanting the names of Gauranga, and he would ask them many questions about Gauranga's triumphant activities in the field of scholarship and learning. So that is also natural. One who has a particular inclination, so he will be attracted to a person who has this kind of inclination and who is established in a certain field. And then one will want to have the association of this person, so that he expressed even in material world it is seen. So in the material world, for example in sports, or children, they play sports and they play cricket, and they remember the famous cricket player or football player. and they wish to meet them or be with them. So it may be other fields also. So especially here in regards to the scriptures. So different scholars are there since the scriptures are present. And so naturally those in one field are attracted to those who are well known in this field. So Nimai Pandit was famous as a great scholar in Nyaya Shastra. After a few months of these activities, Brajanath was no longer his former self. Previously, Nimai's name had pleased him only in connection with his scholarship in Nyaya. But now Nimai pleased him in all respects. Brajanath lost all interest in studying and teaching Nyaya and no longer had any taste for dry arguments or debate. Nimai the logician no longer had any standing in the kingdom of his heart. For Nimai the devotee had usurped all authority. So in his pastime, so Nimai, the Supreme Lord, so as we know in his childhood, he was, as children are, as Krishna himself, the Supreme Lord, was also very naughty, so Nimai, little Nimai was also very naughty. But then he went to the school, Tola, the Pachala of Gangadas Pandit. And learning from him, he quickly mastered the different subject matters, and especially he excelled in Nyaya Shastra. And he became famous in Navadvip. And he defeated great scholars also. So one great scholar had come also to Navadvip, also Digvijay, conqueror of the directions. So Keshav Kashmiri. And so he came to Navadvip trying to conquer the scholars of Navadvip. And the scholars in Navadvip, they were apprehensive and almost a little bit afraid, because that Keshav Kashmiri was well known. Although at that time, so no internet, no mobile, but still, of course only in Bharadvaja then, some communication was there by word of mouth, and so he was known as a great scholar. And so the learned Pandits of Navadvip, they were apprehensive, and they thought, let us direct that Keshav Kashmiri to Nimai Pandit, who is a young boy. So he was young at that time. 12, 14 years, 15 years. But he was already famous as a scholar, Nimai Pandit. So they thought, let us send him there. And we tell him, if you can conquer Nimai Pandit, and then you may be able to also debate with us. So then Keshav Kashmiri went to him, and So he was very much defeated by Nimai Pandit. And the devotees at that time, they also had great respect for Nimai Pandit. But they were not knowing by Yoga Maya also that Nimai Pandit is actually the Supreme Lord, the worshipable Lord. So others who were on the Mahamaya, the external energy, they were not understanding his glories. But even the devotees, due to the internal potency, they were not able to recognize Nimai Pandit as the Supreme Lord. But they saw him as a great scholar and they were afraid of him also. So he was always ready to debate with anyone he saw. So there was a kind of sport to debate with each other. Some challenges. So that is natural even for, of course, for young people, they like some challenges. Right? You like challenges? So, but because he was so expert, Nimai Pandit, the devotees, they were afraid. Although they were scholars also. But when they saw Mahaprabhu, they were trying to avoid him. But then Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit used to say, come here, we should debate now, come. And I tried to catch them. And they were all defeated always. So much so he gave some arguments, they could not counter the argument. But then Nimai Pandit, he defeated his own arguments with some other argument. And then he brought another argument. So he became well known. So Brajanath. So he came to know about him and he inquired from others about him. So he understood he was a great logician. But then he also understood that Nimai had become a devotee of the Lord, a great devotee of Krishna. And then he was chanting the holy names and he became mad in transcendental ecstasy. So then he was very much attracted to Nimai as a devotee. So we understand that this is only possible due to previous impressions, but sometimes it takes time to manifest one's previous impressions or one's devotion also towards the Lord. Brajanath's heart would begin to dance when he heard the sound of mridanga and kartals, and he would offer pranam within his mind whenever he saw pure devotees. He displayed great devotion towards Sri Navadip, respecting it as the birthplace of Sri Gauranga Dev. When the rival Pandits saw that Nyaya Panchanan had become soft-hearted, they were very pleased at his condition. Because first he was defeating everyone. And so as mentioned also, logicians, dry logicians, they have knowledge, but it's just a kind of dry because there's no devotion there. And if one is simply taking this kind of empirical approach towards the Absolute Truth, studying, but not engaging in devotional service, so sometimes the heart becomes hard if the devotion is not there. So he was known as somewhat hard-hearted. But as he heard about Mahaprabhu and understood that he is the Supreme Lord, that he came to give the holy names and devotional service, and then he became attached to Nimai Pandit. And so then his heart softened. So the devotee's heart is soft. The devotee is engaged in devotional service. So with the body engaged in devotional service, with one's words, and with the consciousness, the mind. And so by engaging in devotional service, the heart becomes soft. So when he became soft-hearted and attracted to devotional service and disinterested in logic, the other Pandits were happy. Oh, Brajanath is not anymore interested in debates, in logic. He has become a devotee. So they were relieved. So because before they were afraid of him, because he was so erudite and he could not be defeated. But now he was not interested in that, so they were very pleased. And so, of course, they remained in their study of the scriptures, logic. But what is the use of this if one is not ultimately taking shelter of Krishna? And then actually one can be truly happy, blissful. And that is transcendental happiness. Whereas, like these logicians, so their happiness was material. So they're finding happiness in the study of the scriptures, but it is external. Because they're not engaged in devotional service. And therefore, they may have been pleased, but they were not blissful. Now they could openly step out of their houses without fear. Nayayak Pandit thought that his worshipful deity had rendered Brajanath inactive, and there was no longer any need to be afraid. Usually, a learned person is not afraid because he has knowledge and he understands the Supreme Lord and is aware of his identity as spirit soul, as different from this body, gross and subtle body. So therefore, they also understand that the Lord is there to protect them, to help them. So there's no fear. Of course, these emotions are there, so even in the spiritual world, transcendental fear is there. So what to speak therefore in this material world? So some fear may be there sometimes. And if Krishna is in the center, then it is transcendental. If Krishna is not the center, then it is material. So there's no harm in being somewhat afraid of something. It is natural. But then the devotees take shelter of Krishna, and then he can overcome also the feeling of fear. But it doesn't mean it is not there. It will never be there. It can be there. And it will be there. But so these emotions, they are coming and going. But the devotees, they are fixed in their relationship with Krishna, and they feel great pleasure in the relationship with Krishna. But still some fear may be there. Even Srimati Radharani, the foremost of Krishna's associates. So she's most fortunate because she's most dear to Krishna. Because she's most exalted. And therefore she's most dear to Krishna. And transcendental emotions are there, transcendental love, affection, and transcendental bliss is there. But then transcendental fear may also come. It will also come. It is there. Sometimes Radharani becomes afraid to be separated from Krishna, although she is not separated from him. Never. Because even if physically they may not be together, but they are absorbed in thoughts of each other. And then in this way they are together also. So this feeling of fear may also be there, is there sometimes also in Radharani. So similarly in this world also sometimes we may become afraid. Even, for example, now night time, it is late and there's no electricity and the moon is not there. And then if one is walking and there's no light and one doesn't have the phone with with oneself to activate the torch, then one may also feel some fear. Maybe some thieves may come and take whatever we have. So that is natural. But then we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then one may be again fearless. Or even, for example, so devotee basically is not afraid of that. Because he knows I'm engaged in devotional service, a spirit soul, and I will always be engaged in this service. But then the body is there and one will have to give up the body. And sometimes one may then also be apprehensive and a little afraid of that situation. or even sometimes or the future is not clear, because in the material world things are changing. And sometimes everything is fine, and then almost suddenly the things are not so fine, and then one may be afraid what will happen now in the future. Or even this political situation is there. War between Russia and Ukraine, and even all over the world actually. So some tension is there, and it looks like almost everyone is ready to fight. And then one may be apprehensive also, what will happen if there is a war? And then some fear is there if the bombs are there, like in Ukraine, devotees are there also. Still they are serving and distributing prasadam. And we know we are eternal at the same time, one is in this body, and so then the experience of the body is there. And one is sometimes also afraid that we hope that no bomb will hit my head or something, and I'm finished. So some apprehension, some little fear may be there. That is natural. But Krishna has to be in the center, and then so we can overcome also. So, but these emotions are coming and going, that is natural. So here in debate also they were afraid to lose. One day while Brajanath was sitting in a secluded place on the bank of the Bhagirathi, he thought to himself, if such a profound scholar of the Nyaya Shastras, Nimai, could renounce logic and adopt the path of bhakti, what fault would be there if I should do the same? While I was obsessed with Nyaya, I could not apply myself to the cultivation of bhakti, nor could I bear to hear the name of Nimai. In those days, I was so immersed in the Nyaya Shastra that I could not even find time to eat, drink, or sleep. Now I see things in quite the opposite way. I no longer contemplate the topics of the Nyaya Shastra. Indeed, I always remember the name of Gauranga. Gauranga. Still, even though the ecstatic devotional dancing of the Vaishnavas captivates my mind, I am the son of a Vedic Brahmana. I was born in a prestigious family and I am highly respected in society. Although I truly believe that the behavior and conduct of the Vaishnavas is excellent, it is inappropriate for me to adopt their ways outwardly. So social pressure was there at that time. So, of course, that is always there in this world. Where one is situated, one has to consider this, and the environment, and one has to conduct oneself in a certain way. So in order to be able to live peaceful and not to cause any also difficult situation for others or family members, or awkward situation. So one has to, of course, depend on Krishna, and Krishna will give it intelligence also, how to act in this world in a particular place and under certain circumstances. So we depend on Krishna, and Krishna is guiding. But at the same time, so we take shelter of the devotees also in the scriptures. That is important. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki, Sri Rupa Goswami Pada Ki, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Sri Prabhupada Ki, Sri Prabhupada Ki, Sri Gurudev Ki. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Radhe Shyam.